Yes, yes, indeed. It is Fired Up Friday. Damon and I are going to break down everything and anything that has to do with the Weber State matchup. We got best bets for the football weekend that is, and it's the AZ Wildcats podcast. In 30 seconds, leave a like, drink your water, don't go anywhere.
Welcome on in, everybody, to another Football Friday. It's the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Damon Fairall. That is Kevin Thomas, and we are live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. Per usual, Kevin, we're in downtown Phoenix. We're at HQ3. We got another football game tomorrow. Feels like just yesterday.
It really does.
We were covering Arizona's 40-6 win versus the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Now we got the Weber State Wildcats on the horizon, a mere about 29 hours from this exact moment. How are we feeling about the game? How are we feeling about a nice fired up football Friday? And how are we living in general, my guy?
TGIF, happy Friday to everybody in the chat. Thank you for tapping in with us on a Football Friday, previewing this matchup with the Weber State Wildcats as the Arizona Wildcats look to absolutely, you see it in the headline, dominate and dismantle the Weber State Wildcats this weekend. It should not even be a question. We're going to get into the how, what, the who, and the why of this matchup and how Arizona can fully dominate Weber State. But first, I feel like, we'd be remiss to not start off, Damon, and just, I feel like you nailed it right out there on the head. It does really feel like this week has gone by so fast, and that is the beauty of football being back, because you really have football on Saturday, on Sunday, on Monday, on Tuesday sometimes, on Thursdays, on Fridays. In tonight's case, it's 24/7, 365 football right now, and I'm very excited about it, Damon. And in previewing this matchup, I think we should probably start here with the Weber State matchup. This is not a game where we should at any point be thinking that Arizona does not look anything other than great. This should not be a game where you're sitting at home on the couch or at a bar stool somewhere and you're wondering what's wrong with any one part of Arizona's team. This should be a game where by the third quarter, we're seeing a lot of Isaiah Mizell, Gio Richardson, Brendan Phelps, and that's not a diss to any of those guys.
Yeah.
But this should be a game where you do not need an elite Noah Fifita game. This should be a game where you do not need an excellent game out of any one individual, but it should be easy for those excellent games to come to you as the Arizona Wildcats squad. And I feel like, Damon, when we're previewing this matchup, for me, it wasn't about if Arizona wins. It's about by how much. How many touchdowns does Arizona get this W? And I know that was somewhat the case last week against the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. Shout out to them. But that was truly a quality team. I know that it's not the highest quality of team that you could have possibly faced. It might not even be a top 10 team on your schedule, right? The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. But it is a real football team that's trying to really win games. And Weber State's trying to win games, but they don't really have the dogs to do such a thing, Damon. So, yeah, that's where I wanted to start. Arizona should dominate this game. It should look easy. It should be easy. And we should all be celebrating late Saturday night, early Sunday morning about a dominant Arizona Wildcats victory. And we should also be imagining the potential of whooping up on K-State, because that game is coming up on the horizon, and this game could be a huge informative chip for how Arizona could do in that game.
I 100% agree with you, Kevin. For me, it's like you got to put up some style points this weekend. Like you got to, and as we've talked about throughout the week, you don't really gain a whole lot from blowing out Weber State. It's not as if, people in this fan base are going to be like, I'm all in on Brent Brennan now after that Weber State W. But
that's what it took?
Yeah. I mean, if that's your barometer, then your priorities need to be changed for sure. But at the same time, like, it's that scenario that we've been talking about where if you don't look good, if you only beat a Big Sky opponent by 19 points, what's the repercussions of that? What's the fallout of that? And In particular, I say the 19 points thing tongue in cheek about our rivals and their, Big Sky opponent game that they played last Saturday. But frankly, NAU is a lot better than Weber State. And, ASU is not like they didn't have a performance to write home about. It's not like what they did in week 1 was this like insane performance that, is like, wow, that's the 12th best team in the country. But you have to handle business this weekend, and you have to really kind of be dominant in the process, or else I think that people are going to start raising some question marks about Arizona. Last season, you had the New Mexico win, as Justin Spears mentioned on yesterday's program, where, the team, even though they gave up 39 points to New Mexico, I think in hindsight, we know New Mexico was actually a pretty good offense last season with Devin Dampier at quarterback and Eli Sanders at running back and Luke Wysong at wide receiver. Like, maybe we underestimated them a little bit, but after week 1, Arizona's coaching staff apparently was, fairly galvanized, like fairly confident going into the rest of the season, saying, that looked pretty good. T-Mac and Noah were dominant. That's how we're going to win games this season. And then you got to week 2 and you played Northern Arizona and it looked awful. So you can't have that going into this season. Like, obviously, I think we're all going into this being like, this is going to be a dominating performance from Arizona. But you have to take this game seriously, or else it looks like NAU last year. And by the way, Kevin, I want to let you talk about what the point I just made right there. But do you know, and I have to look this up real quick just to make sure that I got this correct, NAU and Arizona football in 2024, when they played each other, Arizona won by 12. Arizona State won by 19. And the difference in the way that Arizona State fans talk about those two games is unbelievable. That's 1 touchdown difference, Kevin.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, they really struggled in that game. I think it's hilarious, the fact that they're just pretending like they didn't. But this isn't we're not talking about ASU. I realized yesterday that our W against NAU that was made fun of, and everybody was like, man, you guys really suck. Like, you were down to NAU in the second quarter. We won by barely less points than what ASU beat NAU by this weekend.
Yeah, and I think, like, going back to your main point there, Damon, about, like, the game has to look a certain way for Arizona to feel a certain way after this one. The second half of that same point from Justin Spears that you brought up was the fact that, the coaching staff was confident, but the players, like, even in wins last year, didn't feel good about the wins. It felt like really, really hard work to get the wins. It felt like they were fighting for their life to get wins last season. And I know that, every win is hard work in college football, but there's an extent to which you're supposed to have these, I don't want to say gimmies, but you're supposed to have games where the work is a little bit easier, right? Every win in college sports is difficult, but it's to what degree of difficulty, right? And this win is supposed to look really good for Arizona and feel even better leaving, because all the preparation you did, came to fruition, and you dominated the team exactly how you thought you would dominate them. And that really sets the tone going into that K-State matchup, which is not even a conference opponent, which it is a conference opponent, but it's not on the schedule as a conference opponent. And so I feel like if you're Arizona, you're really working with a lot of house money if you're able to make this Weber State victory look incredible. And you give your team, you give Noah Fifita, you give a new offensive coordinator at Arizona, Seth Dagey, a huge level of confidence heading into a game against, coming in from the preseason, one of the toughest teams in the conference. And I know that, I'll scroll up here in the chat. I know that Michael said that Army's going to test KSU. And I know that, North Dakota gave KSU a run for their money, and Iowa State ran them out of Dublin. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. But I think that while K-State is sputtering right now, this is the time to catch them. And if you're Arizona and you can feel as good as possible, you want to feel as good as possible going into that matchup. And this Weber State game is a great conduit for that. And, like, we're not looking over Weber State. In fact, we've looked directly at Weber State, and we've decided that they are not very good. And so if Arizona makes this game look anything other than easy, I think you're really, really worried about that K-State matchup. But they should make this one look easy. And you and I should be on the postgame talking about, feed us another set of Wildcats.
Yeah, 100%. We totally should be looking into, on the postgame show, like, I almost want the postgame show, if we were to fast forward, Kevin, to tomorrow night, get in the time machine. Say it's circa 11 p.m. All of our greatest friends and family in the entire world are there with us. And of course, we're talking about potentially, a lot of freshmen and a lot of young players getting playing time in this Weber State matchup. And we're talking about how do you capitalize on this momentum going into Kansas State next week? Because I honestly, if we're talking about what happened in the Weber State game with our starters and what that means for the future of the program and team in this season, that is a problem in and of itself to me. Let's go through a little bit of a dress rehearsal for K-State. Let's get out there. Let's put a couple things on tape that maybe could be used as a decoy for Kansas State coaches. Hey, we're going to play that. We know we're going to win this game anyways, so we're going to play this way where if we line up in this formation, they think one of these two plays is coming, and really, a Kean Burnett peels off of a block and is streaking down the field with no one covering him. That type of situation is what I'm looking for. And I think that, that's what we got to use this Weber State matchup for is kind of a trampoline of sorts for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's a performance enhancer, this one. You know what I mean? Or it's that +5 boost in the video game, whatever you want to give it. It's if you can do certain things in this game, next game, it's going to look a lot better. And if you don't do certain things in this game, it's going to be a lot harder next week. I know that's not how real life works, but mentally sometimes it is that way, right? If the placebo effect is real. If you beat up on some bad teams, I don't want to say Hawaii's bad, but if you beat up on some lesser teams heading into this matchup with K-State, you might feel like you're Superman in a way when really you're Aquaman. You know what I mean? But I think, Damon, we've talked a lot about why Arizona needs to dominate Weber State in this one. But let's tell the people who Weber State is, because I think a lot of Arizona Wildcat fans, as this is the first matchup between the two schools, probably don't know a whole lot about Weber State football. Maybe not even Weber State athletics outside of Damian Lillard. So Damon was kind enough to put together this little graphic from the last game that Weber State played between JMU, the Dukes, and the Weber State Wildcats. Damon, you want to walk us through this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the one game that we have to work off of from, this season from Weber State's perspective, they played James Madison. James Madison, of course, is a newly crowned FBS team. They just joined the FBS. They've been really good in their time in the FBS, and Alonza Barnett is their quarterback here that you can see being lifted up by his O-lineman, number 14. Very, very good quarterback. They didn't really have to throw the ball all that much last week, James Madison, against Weber State to get the W. As you can see here, they did put up 45 points, only 145 passing yards because they had 313 yards on the ground there.
Alonzo Carter, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, against Weber State. Third down conversions, they got over half of them converted, 7 for 13. And they did all of this while more than doubling up the amount of penalty yardage that Weber State got versus them, more than tripling it, Kevin. 6 penalties for 75 yards for James Madison, only 3 for 21 yards for Weber State. So Weber State, the much more disciplined team, still taking a huge loss because, frankly, less than 100 yards in the air, less than 100 yards on the ground. Giving up 300 yards on the ground. This is to, respectfully, a Sun Belt team. This is to Taco Bell University, as Johnny Venerable would say. And they're
why does he say that?
Yeah, I don't know. He comes up with random tuna fish U or something like that.
Go ahead. Sorry. I just didn't know if there was a reasoning.
No, absolutely not.
You know how Texas Tech has the tortillas? I didn't know if JMU had some sort of chalupa thing going on.
No. This is just what he calls small schools. And sometimes he'll get into it with ACC and Big 12 schools. He'll start calling them that kind of stuff. But
what a wild boy.
That's the PHNX Cardinals podcast. This is the AZ Wildcats podcast. And I think Arizona obviously should be better than JMU. JMU, not a bad team, not trying to say otherwise. They will play in a bowl game this year. I'm fairly certain in saying that. But it should look similar to what James Madison just did to Weber State, if not worse, Kevin. If not even worse.
Yeah, it should be worse.
And so when I look at those stats, to me, it's it's as Justin Spears was saying to us all day yesterday on the program. this is not a good team. This should be an easy win for U of A. And any other way that we're talking about this game tomorrow night is a total and utter disappointment.
And look, I think if you're breaking down how Weber State would be able to upset a team like Arizona, which we're talking about very extremely low odds. And I know that someone, I believe in our YouTube comments recently, was like, talking like that against Weber State. You don't want to fire up the Weber State Wildcats.
No, God,
but
no.
We're just keeping it real. And you know what I mean? And Weber State, that locker room knows what it is. I know, I think it was the Grambling State coach or Grambling coach, Damon. Did you see that quote where they asked him about playing Ohio State or some, huge, massive school? And he said, we're going to compete. Our band is going to compete with their band. And he's like, no, I'm just kidding. I know what this is. Right? He's like, he knows that he can only coach his team but so far, and that Ohio State or whoever the school was just has better players at every position and the backups and the third strings.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not necessarily maybe the case between Arizona and some of their opponents. But when you're looking at this matchup, we've just outlined how they performed against JMU. I was saying the recipe for upsetting a team like Arizona, who wants to up the tempo, up the pace, up the speed of the game, probably lose all the time of possessions this season, is to slow it down. And that's not really the blueprint for the JMU, or not the JMU Dukes, for the Weber State Wildcats. They lost the time of possession battle by, I believe, almost 10 minutes in the game against JMU, Damon. And on top of that, I looked that up to see if there was a reason why they had so many less penalties. And I think it's just because they had the ball less.
That probably makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that if you're going to defeat Arizona, I think it's going to be by slowing it down, suffocating, on both sides of the ball, making it tough for Noah Fifita. And I just don't see Weber State being able to pull off that kind of a recipe. Mm-hmm. I feel like Weber State is a team that wants to up tempo just a little bit more than, a team that would be able to upset an Arizona Wildcat squad. So I'm with you on that. I think that Arizona should be able to make it look easier than JMU did, and JMU made it look really easy. So yeah. I'm with you on that. And I want to get to the keys to this game. We're talking about who they are, but let's talk about how Arizona can dominate them on the other side of this break here. It's the AZ Wildcats podcast. Like I said in the intro, drink your water, leave a like. Don't go anywhere. And I said don't go anywhere, but you should probably take a trip to one of the over 130 dispensaries in the Freedom State that dispense Pure Edibles. Now, Pure Edibles is a homegrown company, pardon my pun, from right here in Arizona at Noble Herb Dispensary. That is the home of Pure Edibles. But they, like I said, are available in over 130 dispensaries statewide. And you're wondering to yourself, what makes Pure Edibles, different than any other edible company? And you're like, well, they don't put none of that, sugary crap, none of the harsh chemicals on top of the stuff just to make it taste like what they say it's going to taste like. Pure Edibles is actually a full-fledged candy company. They do candy, and they also do the fun stuff too, like your CBN, CBG, CBD, and obviously the fun one, the most fun of it all, THC. And they offer a wide variety of different candies, right? So you have their Kicks, which is kind of like a Starburst, their gummies, their hard candies, and their chews, which is like a soft caramel kind of texture. I picked up a tin of those the other night. So like I said, go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries that dispense them. Pure Edibles, the best candy gummies in the game.
Kevin, it is football season again, and that means that we love to, the week goes faster, as we talked about. That means that we love to gamble on the games, but that also means that every once in a while you want to actually go to the games, because there's nothing like a live sporting event. And if you are going to go to a football game this year, there's only one ticketing app to use, and that is Game Time. You can either download the free app or you can look up gametime.co. That's gametime.co. We have a promo code for you. It is PHNX. It's going to get you $20 off your first ticket purchase. Here's what I love about Game Time. It is made for procrastinators like me, like my guy Kevin, like I'm sure a lot of the people here listening, because it benefits and incentivizes you to wait until the last minute to buy your tickets, because prices go down the closer you wait to Game Time. That's why they call it Game Time. They also show you the all-in ticketing prices before you're, get into the checkout cart and all of a sudden the ticket fees double up the price. Game Time takes all of the effort out of buying tickets. They make it so easy. They show you where your seat's going to be. That's mine and Kevin's favorite feature, as we've talked about on the show plenty. And of course, they have their Game Time picks deals as well, where they find for you the best value price tickets in the stadium based off of, how close you are to the field, your view, the price, all of the amenities. It's so great. We love our friends at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHNX for $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Tap ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today or go on gametime.co. Kevin, what time is it?
Game time. Sorry, it's Friday.
Just a special fired up Friday bark from my guy Kevin Thomas here. And those just keep getting better and better. They really do, Kevin. Let me just say, if you're looking for some tickets for this Weber State game, go to Game Time. I'm sure that they are nice and cheap on there because, why wouldn't they? Weber State, that's not exactly the biggest draw. I'm going to go ahead and just look it up right now just for the fun of it, Kevin. Like, what are we looking at in terms of prices here as I oftentimes have to plug in, that I want to go to a U of A game, even though I live in Phoenix. It somehow does not compute that
this is actually Wildcat country still.
Potentially someone could maybe drive down I-10.
That would never happen.
And go to a game.
No, that would never happen, Damon. But while you get that ticket price for us, I'm going to start with our keys to the game in this one for defeating and, dare I say, blowing out the Weber State Wildcats. Key number one.
$6, Kevin. $6. You can get the number one deal right now on Game Time picks. Row 6 on the 30-yard line for $18, meaning you use our promo code PHNX, $20, 18. Maybe buy 2 tickets. One of them's free. You're paying for one. $9 a person.
Wow.
You get great seats in row 6. Unbelievable at Game Time. I mean,
That's
Game
great.
Time. The deals on the Game Time tickets this week are unbelievable.
That is unbelievable, Damon. And if you're at the game and if you did use the Game Time ticket app to buy those exact same seats that Damon was just looking at, you're going to hopefully see a 3 for 3 on these keys to the game this Saturday.
Sorry to cut you off there, Kevin.
No, you're good. I was actually just stalling so that you could get the price. So
sweet Kevin.
Mission accomplished on both sides. We're all good in this hood over here. Key number 1, the run game. I want to see Arizona absolutely dominate and decimate Weber State in the run game. I would love to see it, but I'm not going to say that Arizona needs to dominate the secondary and dominate the passing game in this one. I just think that it's going to be a game you want to control and win with ease, and that's going to be coming through the run game. So I want 215-plus yards on the ground, at least, and I want 3+ rushing touchdowns at least. For reference, last game against Hawaii, Arizona ran for 183 yards. I think, dipping down in quality of opponent, Arizona should be able to accumulate 40-plus yards extra on the ground. And then they had 4 rushing touchdowns from 4 different individual rushers. I think that 3+ rushing touchdowns should not be a difficult ask in this one, where you're probably going to put up over 45 points. Key number 2. Real quick,
I just want to say I completely agree with that. I think you have to best your performance from last week's run game, and last week's run game was really good.
Yeah.
33 carries, 183 yards, like you said, 5.5 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns from 4 different ball carriers on the ground. I'm not sure that you're going to get the 4 touchdowns on the ground necessarily because, frankly, Arizona was definitely more keyed in on the run game in the red zone, whereas maybe you see some more passing touchdowns this time around. But I agree with you. Let's see more carries for more yards for a better yards per clip. That's the 3 things that I'm looking for in this game, and 100% agree with that first key. I think it's pivotal.
Key number 2, we got Noah Fifita having 60% or better completion percentage, and I did completion percentage for a reason, right? Like I said earlier, I don't expect Noah Fifita to absolutely light the scoreboard up in this one with his yardage, with his touchdown numbers. I think Arizona should be able to do this without that. I think you want to save Noah Fifita's arm for a little bit later in this month when you face K-State. But I do expect him to have an increase in efficiency over last game. 56% completion percent against Hawaii. I expect Weber State secondary to give him less of a challenge than Hawaii's did. I know that Kilinahi Mendiola Jensen is not going to be back there for Weber State, so you need him to dominate this secondary when he is out there, when he is throwing the ball. So I want him to look extremely accurate, pocket passing, Noah Fifita, 60% or better completion percentage. Damon, what do you think?
Yeah, I love this one as well. And for me, and I think you would agree with this, this isn't like a key in terms of what Arizona needs to do to get the W. Maybe necessarily like a lot of these keys are going to be going into each week. Like, I think we're probably going to go into each week being like, Arizona needs this to happen, or they're going to lose versus Kansas State, and so on and so forth. When you're talking about the Weber State game, I think it's more so what can we build off of for the remainder of the season. And yeah, Noah Fifita, 13 for 23 last week, not the greatest from an efficiency standpoint. I mean, gets over 50%, but was kind of teetering on that 50% completion percentage line the entire way. I think I'm with you. Like, let's see a little bit more efficiency and accuracy from our guy this week. We've seen him throw for over 70% in his college career in a single season. I don't know if I necessarily expect, 2023 Noah Fifita throwing for 71% of his passes completed again on pretty high volume, but I do want to see more in the middle of what we saw last season, 60% to the season after 70%. Get me like 66, 67, 68% on the season. And in order to do something like that, the games against teams like Weber State, you got to have, one of your better games. Show me, like, I know you have 60% there, and I hear what you're trying to say. Like, let's build off of what we did last week. I almost am like, let's aim higher.
Yeah,
I want
65, 70.
I'm almost sitting here being like, Noah, go out there and give me 80% completion percentage this week. Because this is Weber State.
Yeah,
this is a Big Sky opponent.
Go look surgical.
You're Noah Fifita. I want to see efficiency. I want to see you get the ball out fast. Like you said, I want to see you be surgical. And I think the comparison is a little lazy at times because I think it's a lot of like, oh, who else is Polynesian and plays QB? But there's something to be said about like the comparisons to Tua Tagovailoa, where it's like anticipation, efficiency, accuracy, putting the ball in the right spots for your receivers. And you have to win those ways when you're a Noah Fifita or a Tua, where you're not necessarily the most athletic guy on the field. And you definitely skew small. And it's a little different level. Tua's bigger than Noah, but in the NFL, I'm saying, versus in college. Like, it's, show me that type of offense. Get the RPOs working. Let's just see Noah put it on the money. And let's, like, my personal barometer, give me 80, man. Let's shoot for the stars.
No, yeah, I'm with it. And that was kind of where my mindset was at, is I want him to look really surgical in this game. I don't really care what the exact percentage is, but I know it needs to be higher than 60, and I know I need him to look a certain way doing it. Moving into key number 3, Damon, I need this defense to absolutely dominate and shut the door before it ever is even open. I mean, like, Weber State tries to open it, and Genesis Smith and Trey Smith are just there with their foot on the doorknob, making sure they can't even get a crack in the door this week. Last week, against Hawaii, Arizona had 5 sacks and 5 forced turnovers, as we've all made a bunch of noise about the turnover sword and how is Arizona going to need multiple turnover swords? Are they going to need to buy more footballs from Weber State? And I know that I'm also a part of that, but I don't think that's necessarily like one of my keys in this one. I just want to see them force 4+ turnovers and get 4+ sacks. Can you meet the level of defensive domination statistically that you had last week? And hopefully, in actuality, it looks a lot more dominant, but I don't think I'm necessarily going to be like, I need, a brand new turnover sword record. I need 7 turnovers in this one. I feel like that is a high expectation to be like, I expect a record to be broken in this game. Although I do expect to encroach upon that turnover record if you're Arizona. I just didn't want to necessarily put that, level of expectation on them. But I need the defense to be absolutely dominant, and it starts with getting back in the backfield, forcing at least 4 sacks, and forcing at least 4 turnovers in any way you can.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think, as you say, like, that's lofty expectations for sure. I don't know if the turnovers are necessarily what I'm going to be looking for, but I love the sacks component. Like, let's just beat up on a team that doesn't belong on the field with us. And if you're a guy like, for example, a Malachi Bailey, a player that got called out by Danny Gonzalez, as Justin Spears noted on our program yesterday, like, this is the game. Malachi Bailey, was dominated at the FCS level, piled up the stats at the FCS level. Show me it. Show me it versus an FCS team. Show me why you're an FCS All-Star and why you got this bump up to the FBS level, to the Power 5 level, or Power 4 level, I should say. And that goes for the rest of the defensive linemen, DNs, linebackers as well. Like, guys, you just are a different caliber athlete than these Weber State offensive linemen. Go out there and let's start stat compiling. let's start stat stuffing. Like if you're Chase Kennedy, 3 sacks. It's going to make the total on the end of the season look a lot better when you're trying to vie for a Big 12 honorable mention spot at the end of the season in the postseason accolades or in honors. Like, let's see it right here. I even the turnovers I'll put to the side. I think a lot of that there's turnover luck involved, and maybe Arizona gets 7 turnovers. Maybe they get 1, and the defensive performance could almost be equally as dominant. But the sacks need to happen and need to come to fruition against a team that just, shouldn't be able to protect their quarterback against you. And what they give up last week? 4 sacks? Is that right?
How many did Weber State give up?
Yeah.
I should have had that. I did not have that.
Let me find it real quick. I think,
I'll add to your stat stuffing point while you get that number, Damon, because we've talked a lot about NCAA Football 26, the video game, this week on the show. Maybe too much, maybe not enough. I don't know. Let us know. But
it's not enough.
My biggest thing is like these games in the video game world is the one where you're like, okay, time to go get my quarterback the Heisman.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Time to go get my guy the Heisman in week 2 while we play this scrub school, because I know that the SEC or the Big 12 or the Big 10 schedule that we have on the slate is about to be difficult to get these stats in, right? So if you're a guy like Trey Smith, right, go get 3 sacks, like you said, in this game, and then go sit down and feel really good about what you've done today.
Put your feet up.
There you go. Enjoy yourself. Put a lay on. You know what I mean? Put the cucumbers over the eyes. Really, really live it up. And, the sun's going to be out. Well, I guess not anymore. It's going to be a night game.
Boys.
But you get the point, right? Trayvon Diggs going and getting popcorn at the halftime of the game, that kind of thing. I think, and it's not really a huge point to bring to the table here, but it is part of it, right? The stat stuffing, and you mentioned it, at the end of the year, your stats are going to be what they are. So if you can increase them at any point in the game, your total is your total. And in the era of NIL and rev share, go get paid.
Yeah.
Like you said with Malachi Bailey, if you can make a certain number of sacks this year and be able to say, oh, I had X amount of sacks at Arizona last year. Off the top of my head, I forget if he has further eligibility after this year, but you get my point, right? Mm-hmm. Guys that have more eligibility and maybe either Arizona is their final stop or Arizona is not their final stop, go get paid. This can help you get paid in the offseason if you have huge games against some of the lesser teams on your schedule and have good games against the rest of them. You can go get paid. So, like I said, defense needs to dominate in this one. Bless you. Defense absolutely needs to dominate in this one. I don't want at any point to be like, that looked a little bit easy on that play for Weber State. The run game, for example, against Hawaii, there were multiple occasions, you and I talked about it, where Hawaii would rip off like a 3 to 6 yard rush that just looked easy. You know what I mean? It just looked easy. Arizona's D-line maybe got moved around a little bit too much. I don't want to see any of that this week against Weber State. I want this to be a dominant front, a dominant secondary, a dominant defensive unit as a whole, and I expect Danny Gonzalez to have them playing violently.
Yeah, 100% with you there, Kevin. It needs to be a showcase of sorts for the Arizona Wildcats to feel great about it from a fan perspective and to feel great about it playing K-State a week later, who, by the way, Kansas State plays Army this week, and they are 17.5-point favorites.
We'll talk about it in the betting segment.
We will talk about it in the betting segment. Off the back of being in a dogfight with North Dakota, off the back of a very poor showing against Iowa State, I think they get the job done versus Army. But again, if they do not cover, again, Kevin, I mean, if you're an Arizona fan, you got to feel, I think, pretty damn ecstatic about your odds against Kansas State, and only being 17.5-point favorites against Army is, I mean,
it's indicative of the state of the program. Right
the books are starting to say, like, we don't know what to think about Kansas State right now. But as Kevin said, we're going to get into our favorite picks of the week, review our picks from last week. And I think we're going to minimize our picks from 5 to 3. And maybe we'll decipher live on air with the people. We'll have a courtship ruling of which 3 picks we get to, go with from last week. What's fair, what's not fair. And
what do you mean? They were all winners.
Forward.
They were all winners. I don't know what you mean.
A couple of them were winners, but we'll be getting into all of that and more on the other side of this break. It's the AZ Wildcats podcast. Do not go anywhere.
Unless you're taking us with you on a trip to Rally House, in which case, count me in.
Kevin, what is Rally House?
Rally House is the go-to spot for all your sports memorabilia, no matter what team, what state you are in. Right now, we're in the Freedom State of Arizona, so anything from Wildcats to Diamondbacks, Rally House has it, and they have it all. I'm talking coasters, I'm talking dog collars, I'm talking shirts, jerseys, hoodies, keychains, art, memorabilia, the whole lot. Rally House has it. They have tens of thousands of products. I believe they have. Maybe they've updated it and have more. Last time I checked, they had 39 pages, Damon. 39 pages of Arizona Wildcats merch and memorabilia. So if you're an Arizona Wildcat fan, the best place to get your merch is Rally House. They only carry Arizona sports teams here in the Freedom State of Arizona. It's not like going to a big, brand redacted hat store or something and you got all your rival teams in there. You don't want to see that crap while you're searching for your favorite team.
Especially
you want to lock in on the
stuff.
Exactly. You want to lock in on the division, the franchise, the program, the conference that you follow. So find your local Rally House location. They have multiple out here in the Freedom State: Tempe, Mesa, Glendale, just to name 3. Find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online today at www.rallyhouse.com.
Rally House, unbelievable stuff going on over there, becoming a Valley staple, right? And one thing that, one company that knows everything about being a Valley staple and Arizona staple in general, Circle K. You see us here in Studio K, presented by Circle K. They are probably our favorite sponsor. I mean, I hate to pick favorites. It's like picking your favorite kid.
Two guys with no kids, we relate.
But Kevin, one of my kids has like 1,200 locations in the state of Arizona from, top to bottom, is swimming in it and is America's thirst stop.
Well, wait, actually, not to cut off your ad read, can I interject with a real life story about Circle K today?
Yes, please do so.
I was on my way to work, and if my mom and grandpa are listening, don't listen to this part. I ran out of gas today.
Earmuffs, June and Tom.
I hit 0 on my gas mileage today heading into work because I forgot. Like, I was running late this morning, and I'm like, oh, I forgot I need gas.
Kevin, the horror.
And I hit 0. And I'm like, I can't make it to work. Because I thought about just going to work. I can't make it to work. It's too many miles. Where am I going to go? And so I put in my maps the nearest gas station. And hey, it was not a Circle K. But when I went there, Damon, and this is what I'm getting at, it didn't exist. I was led astray. The gas station was false.
Just not there.
It was old. It was no longer in business. But you know what was right across the street? Circle K. And you know who was there for me? Circle K. You know who got me to work today? Circle K. You know who I snacked from? I got my snacks from this morning? Circle K. It's the only place to do it, Damon. You can join the Inner Circle for free today. Get 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, 3 cents off per gallon every fill-up after that. I got 5 cents off today because I've graduated into that inner circle that we love to talk about so much.
Premium membership.
So if you want to be like me and be supported at all times, 24/7, 365 by America's Thirst Stop, Circle K. No other gas station, literally, does it better than Circle K. They are always there for you, just a stone's throw away. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
We love Circle K. Download the free app, guys, like Kevin said. And if you're not a member of the Inner Circle yet, you are genuinely someone that just straight up does not like money.
No, yeah.
I feel comfortable saying that. Kevin, you know what? We actually did whittle down our 3 favorite plays last week.
Oh. Would you look at that?
Yeah. Would you look at that? You went with, or I guess I have my 3 here. Maybe you didn't. You have your 5 bets here. I put my favorite plays on here, and I have USF money line plus 175, Colorado plus 4.5, which that did not hit correct.
Did they lose by 4? 24-20? Or was that just last night's score? And I'm
27-20, like a shot to the heart, Kevin.
Oh, with 2 timeouts in the back pocket with the ball.
Shot to the heart. And then, of course,
and Deion's too, blame.
Of course, Oregon versus Montana State, which did cash easily.
Okay.
Was
so
minus 27.5. So I went 2-1. I need to calculate the units on that one, but went 2-1 on the week. Those were my 3 favorite plays. The cash on the USF money line, Colorado plus 4.5, which ultimately lost. Probably should have won. And then Oregon spread against Montana State, which I felt was disrespectful. Kevin, your picks for the week, and maybe, you know what? Maybe you do have them here. You actually just have a couple of things here. So maybe not, but here we have Arizona, which I assume was the spread on the Hawaii game. USF money line, which I know you were pretty locked in on. So I think that is a fair one if you want to go ahead and take that one.
Yeah, I'm taking that one.
You also have Cincinnati money line, who lost to Nebraska. Ohio State versus Texas over.
Yeah,
which was a real stinker.
Hand up, if I'm being completely honest, that should be in my 3 because I was like, I'm so confident in this one. It feels really good. It's gonna be a light show to start, college football. And then it was a fun game, but it was not a light show.
Yeah,
at all.
And then Alabama minus 13.5, minus 14 with Florida State. They ultimately lose the game. Tommy Castellanos just like he was looking at you when he was when he was going off there, Kevin. So let's go ahead. I think I'll be fair here, and you're being fair as well. What are we choosing as our 3 picks to go forward with the rest of the way?
I think we should both have USF in there. We gave that as a bet on the show. We were both super confident. You literally heard it here first. There was nobody else on the planet telling you to bet UCF other than us. And then I think I have to have that Alabama over L in there. The Ohio State.
Ohio State,
Texas over. That has to be an L because I was so confident in that. And then I think I am going to take Arizona in there because I'm not going to not bet the Wildcats if it's an option for me. So both of us go 2-1.
Yeah, both of us go 2-1, and then moving forward, we will only pick 3, and we will stick with it because we just realized 5 was.
It's hard to find 5 legitimate locks every week.
It's a bit much. It's a bit much, but okay. So the last one you were going with was the Arizona spread, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so those are your 3 picks from the week. We both go 2-1, and we move on into our next group of picks here. Kevin, did you in fact, have 3 teams here that you're looking at and maybe putting some money on this weekend?
I do have some teams that I'm looking at and thinking of, Damon, and off the top of my head, one has actually closed. I'm going to have to go see if that line has been updated as I talk here, and it has. It has moved, but I'm still sticking with it. I'm going to start with that line. I have Iowa State to cover this week against Iowa at home. I think Iowa State has looked awesome. I know Iowa has a little bit of a different feel to it this year, but I don't think that they're going to be able to defeat their rivals on the road. I think Iowa State is just too good this year, and they win this game. I'm not saying they blow them out. At the time when I had it in my slip, it was -3. I don't know what you're getting over there. It changed to 3.5 where I'm looking at right now. And so, yeah, Iowa State -3, -3.5. Should I give a play to number or should I just keep it at what it is, like what I'm comfortable playing it to? Because if it keeps moving, then you know what I mean?
Well, I think we're locking them in right now.
Okay, bet.
So
yeah,
it's
Iowa State minus, and then can you call the number? So because I had it at 3, and then there's one at 3.5. So
what does Bet365 have?
Let me double check. Actually, can you double check while I go through the rest of my bets here?
I will.
I have Iowa State spread as my first, or I guess technically my 3rd bet. My 2nd bet is going to be Baylor plus 2.5 on the road against SMU. And Damon and I were talking about this pre-show. This is a bet that has a lot riding on it for this podcast in particular, right? And you might be like, how? And I'm going to tell you how. We have a thing called the ban list on this here podcast, Damon. And right now it looks like this. It's just K-State. Just you, Avery Johnson. It's just you, brother. You're in detention by yourself. And I'll say this, Damon. I'm doing this almost in a martyr sense for the Big 12 and Baylor. If I bet on Baylor this week and they do not cover against SMU, who's going to be a good team, but people thought Baylor could be a great team this year, right? They might go on the ban list if they can't pull this one off for me. I know they're a dog. I know they're on the road. I know they're coming off a loss to Auburn. Damon, do you feel the same? Like if I bet Baylor and they don't come through for me, depending upon how it looks, can we put them on the ban list?
Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna be 2 in on Baylor now, and they're gonna not show up in 2 absolutely pivotal games for their season, I'll be honest. I think I put a lot of stock into Baylor. And obviously, they could lose every non-conference game and then go into the conference play, go undefeated and win the conference, right? Like that's how that works. But that's 2 insanely tough games to start off your season. An SEC opponent, and then you have to go on the road to a interstate rival who happens to be ranked and playing in a power conference. Baylor needs that W. Absolutely do need that W. Because their season would most likely be be over. I would say if they start off 0-2. We'll see though. But yeah, I mean, I feel decent about that. I'm fine putting them on the ban list for sure. SMU does scare me a little bit. Iowa State, Kevin, the spread on Bet365 is -3.5.
I'll take it
at
still.
-110.
I'm taking that still.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're going with Iowa State and the points.
I feel like they win that game like by a touchdown, 10 points or something.
Baylor in the points, right? You're not going Baylor money line?
No, Baylor in the points.
Okay, Baylor in the points, and then what is your final pick here?
I think you should give your first two, and then we should just show our best bet at the end. What do you think?
Okay, all right.
We do have a graphic with both of our most solid locks of the week on there. Yeah. So what are your bottom two, number 3 and number 2 bets in your top 3 this week?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go ahead and take Arizona spread. I saw it actually. So some sports books don't have it live yet. Some do. The one I did find it live on, Kevin, -32.5 at -110. I'm taking that, man. The Wildcats beat Hawaii by 34 last week. Hawaii is a better team than Weber State, I think, by a pretty significant margin. That this number would have cashed for a James Madison last week. Arizona is better than James Madison. The only way this doesn't cash, in my opinion, is if the backups come in for Arizona and for some reason just don't look like they're ready to play at this level of football. Like maybe they look like they're ready for Weber State level football and the points kind of stall out. Arizona wins by like 28 or something like that. I just feel like that this number is too low, and I like the Wildcats in this one.
Damn. Peeling back the curtain, Damon and I pre-show we're searching for a line on Arizona versus Weber State, and we're both doing pre-show stuff. We're both preparing for this great podcast that we do for all you people, and I just kind of gave up on searching for the line, and that, my friends, is why this game, this betting mano-a-mano matchup, is so great. Because Damon, he never stopped doing. He never stopped playing. The buzzer hadn't sounded, and I stopped playing, folks. I stopped looking for another line for Arizona Weber State. Damon didn't. And now he's got the line that I would have ate that right up if I saw that line. Because I think Arizona wins this game by like, what was it, 30? What did you say it was?
It was 32.5.
Yeah, see, I think they win this game by like 35-40. Yeah. At least. So I really feel like that is a suave, very, very genius pick by you, Damon. What is your next bet?
My next bet, Kevin, and I debated around a couple here. I think I'm going to go UCLA money line on the road against UNLV at -140. UNLV was kind of in a close game with Sam Houston State in week 1. Not kind of. They definitely were in a close game with Sam Houston State week 1 because I took their spread versus Sam Houston State, and it did not, in fact, cover. I don't even believe it was really remotely close as UNLV ended up running away with it by 17 at the end, but they were about 4 touchdown favorites in that game and ended up having to, score a touchdown late to even make it a 17-point game. I think UNLV is decent. They have, I believe, the quarterback or the coach from Florida, the old coach from Florida. What was his name? Dan Mullins, the dude who has the picture of him naked on the boat with the shark. You know what I'm talking about?
I know who he was. Didn't know that picture existed.
Look up that picture right now. No, Kevin, please. It's so funny. Look up Dan Mullen shark right now and give me a live reaction. I actually don't think it's him. It just looks just like him. But do you see? Hilarious picture.
That's enough internet for me today.
Yeah,
I will be uploading our audio and logging off.
I know UCLA got absolutely obliterated by Utah last week. I get that. I think power conference team, they're probably better than what they showed by a little bit. And if they lose to UNLV, we are talking about dark times in Westwood, in UCLA or neck of the woods. So I'm gonna take UCLA money line against UNLV at around a pick'em number or slightly over.
I like that bet mostly because this will be a good barometer for how good is Utah and how bad is UCLA.
Correct.
Right. And UCLA, if you are a quality football team, you come back after losing to maybe a better side in Utah and you bounce back and you win this game, all is okay. And you move on to week 3. But I think if you lose this, like you said, if you lose this, you are truly worried about the future of this season for UCLA, Damon. I like that bet. And now shall we get into our best bet of the week?
Let's do it. Let's start off with you, my good sir.
MIZZOU. -6.5 versus Kansas. And you might be like, Kevin, no! It's the Interstellar meme where the guy's watching, himself make a mistake or however that movie went. I actually didn't watch that movie, but I see the meme. Anyway, you might remember I made a certain bet that I still have not repaid. I picked my Mizzou Tigers to defeat the Drake Bulldogs, and they did not do that. And now preseason basketball, I'm going to carve a heart somewhere into the head of my face and my hair or something. And I'm going back to the well. Damon, do you know when the last time the border war was fought in between Mizzou and Kansas?
I don't. I would have assumed that they would try to make a spectacle of it.
You would assume that it'd be a year or at least every other year kind of rivalry. The last time this game took place was 14 years ago. Wow. And the last time it took place in Mizzou was even longer than that. I believe it was I want to say 20 years or 19 years or something like that. I've been talking to my Mizzou friends. They believe that there's no more amped up fan base in the country for a game than the Mizzou Tigers fan base for this game. This game,
it's low key when Kevin, we've talked about this off air. It's kind of like maybe the most heated rivalry in college sports.
It's a nasty one.
Guys, go look up the history of Missouri versus Kansas. It is much deeper than just sports stuff. And I know how much we hate our rivals. I get it, man. Kevin is learning in real time what it is like to truly hate your rivals, mostly because of their, craphead fan base and their, army of burner accounts that, hide behind fake opinions and on being unable to stand on business. But we hate ASU with a passion. This is much, much deeper. These colors run deep. You
know what they did on Mizzou's campus this week? Across the entire campus.
No,
I'm not talking about just Greek Row. I'm not talking about just the journalism building. Every building that had a K on it, someone has gone through and crossed out the K.
No.
Every building. Everyone. Not a single K is allowed on Mizzou campus until they are done with this border war with Kansas. This game means everything to a Mizzou program that is really trying to compete in the SEC this year. And Damon, Bo Pribula has the hearts of Mizzou fans. The new quarterback taking over for Brady Cook seems to be the more talented of the two compared to what Brady Cook was able to do for Mizzou. People are huge on Bo Pribula, who went 23 for 28 last week, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. I just think that Mizzou's offense is going to be able to handle Kansas's defense in this matchup. I do think Kansas is going to make a good account for itself, but I do think that Mizzou covers and wins by at least a touchdown, covering the 6.5, MIZ-ZOU, and they're going to defeat a Big 12 team in Kansas. I know that I told Max, we don't have to just do Big 12 matchups, and then I bet on 3 Big 12 matchups, but that's okay. I just am really in on Big 12 ball, and I think that I'm so in on it that I'm going to pick the SEC side.
I think we feel like we know these teams a little bit better because we cover them all the time and we talk about the landscape of the conference. But I got to be honest, Kevin, I'm fading you because I think that what this line is telling, this is almost like an Auburn-Baylor situation where it's like Auburn is supposed to be one of the worst teams in the SEC and Baylor is supposed to be one of the best teams in the Big 12. Kansas, I think, the shoe is almost flipped now. Kansas, the way they've looked thus far against Fresno State and against Wagner, it's like maybe they're one of the front runners in the Big 12 conference. Mizzou is definitely one of the more bottom feeder teams in the SEC on paper, at least. So I think, I don't know, maybe it's just the Big 12 backing in me and I'm being wishful and whatnot. And I believe in this conference, but I really like Jalen Daniels in the way that he's playing football. There's an aura about Jalen Daniels right now. And maybe I'm all in on Kansas this season. I feel like what they got going on and the way they ended last year, they're continuing it right now. Give me Kansas. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Kevin. I'm on the right side of history here. It's all about the Jayhawks. Hey, you stay on that side. Mizzou, it's all you stay on that Mizzou side over there. You want to talk about the Freedom State? It's damn Kansas.
Do your research on the rivalry, and you'll understand that one. Look, I went into multiple conversations this past weekend with people that go to Mizzou or went to Mizzou and really are locked in on that program. And I'm going into these conversations telling them I would love it if KU pulls off an upset and defeats Mizzou on the road and helps out the Big 12. But I would also love it, honestly, if Kansas lost and made it a little bit easier for Arizona to compete in this conference. I think that, KU, like what they've been able to do so far with Jalen Daniels is impressive. I want to see it against a big time school, and I'm not saying Mizzou is the biggest of big time, but they're in the biggest conference, the biggest time conference, right? And so I really feel like the SEC strength. Maybe this is SEC bias coming out of my mouth, but I feel like the SEC strength is going to show in this one, and I think Mizzou gets it done. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It'll probably be a blackout for many a Mizzou student on Saturday, but I don't think it'll be a blowout on the field, but I do think Mizzou covers by a touchdown there, Damon.
Yeah. Kevin,
your best bet.
My best bet, and I'm just going to, you know what? I said it yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. Run the damn ball. Because last week I took Oregon minus 27.5 versus Montana State. And guess what, Kevin? We're sticking with not only the same team, but the same exact line as well. I'm keeping the Ducks at minus 27.5 versus Oklahoma State. I think Montana State would beat Oklahoma State in a football game if they played against each other. Montana State is a top 5 team in the FCS. We all know how important those FCS rankings are and how much they hold weight, right? I mean, our rivals have told us how much Northern Arizona is an unbelievable football program after last week's result. And Montana State is significantly better than Northern Arizona. Oklahoma State's quarterback is hurt. They have Zane Flores in. He threw, Kevin, last week against UT Martin, 13 for 20 for 136 yards, 0 touchdowns. I don't care. Oklahoma State only beat UT Martin 27-7. I don't think that they're a very good team. I think Oregon takes this game a little bit more seriously than they took last week's game just because of the logos that we're talking about. But I think they play a worse team in the process, and I think that they blow out Oklahoma State because this is a case of a Big 10 team that is elite against a Big 12 team that is garbage. That might be the worst team in the entire conference. And so I'm sitting there and I'm going, this looks like a blowout in the making. Give me Oregon by 4 touchdowns.
Wow. I mean, that's special. Getting it at the same exact line that you got the winning one last week feels written in the stars, Damon. I love your picks. Obviously, I love mine.
I'm feeling 3-0 this week, Kevin. I got to be real. I got to be real with you.
This is not the best thing to say after I've just given out my 3 best bets. I'm feeling 2-1. The inability of me to be able to find the Arizona line really, it kind of is shaking my confidence. I was all confident until I heard that you had an Arizona line, and that felt like a Uno reverse or a wild card. I'm not, what I mean, something like that. But yeah, Damon, that was our betting preview and betting recap for you today. And we do have a couple more things to get before we get out of here. We can keep this one really brief because it's pretty self-explanatory. The matchup battles for Arizona versus Weber State. And as you can guess,
let's get into it. This is going to take, everyone lock in, buckle up.
Lock in for hour 2 of the pod.
Yeah, hour 2 of the pod starts now. No. This should be pretty quick discussion here. Guys, Arizona's better than Weber State at every position, and if they weren't, that would be pretty big disaster.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's much else to say. They didn't look great, Weber State, against a worse team, I think, in James Madison. I definitely don't think that they'll look great versus a better team in Arizona or improve upon that. So, yeah, I think we got it on the money there, Kevin. All Arizona, all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, keep these easy graphics easy while we can, because we're about to pre-show be having some probably large discussions coming into Big 12 play about, who's got the better receiver room? Quincy Craig, Ismail Mahdi, Kedrick Reescano, that's a nice running back. We're going to be going back and forth with these, evaluations, all season. So it's nice to get a couple easy ones out the way there. Last week you had the special teams debate. Last week you had a little bit of the coaching debate, but it was pretty simple. Arizona had the superior coaching there. So, yeah, this week we kept it sweet and simple. KISS, people. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's what we did. Arizona should have the matchup advantage in every single room this upcoming Saturday. Damon, do we have anything else on Weber State?
We got nothing else except for, Kevin, it's about style points tomorrow night. Let's see it. Let's see some fireworks. Let's see some theatrics. Let's see something that inspires confidence in this Arizona fan base and makes them want to show up and show out for that Friday night game, for a fired up Friday, Kevin, I will add, against Kansas State just a mere 6 days later. So I think, you just got to put it on them this weekend and leave no doubt in the world that Arizona is the, superior team, I should say, to Big Sky opponent in Weber State. No excuses. We're not going to be coming on the show if Noah Fifita throws an interception, arm punt, lofting it in the air, saying, well, if you take away Noah Fifita's interception and all the incompletions, he was actually really good, and this city has something to prove going in this Kansas State matchup. Like, that's not going to be our vibe if this game is way closer than it should be. We're going to tell it like it is. We're going to keep it straight, and we're going to tell you, you know what, this program just didn't look up to snuff, and maybe we got some things that, we need to really work out before Big 12 play, or else it's going to get nasty. I don't expect that, though. I expect a blowout. I expect, a lot of cinematics in the process.
I'm with you. I'm expecting some great highlights from this game for Arizona against Weber State. And Damon, before we do get out of here, I do have one news and note for you guys today. I was going through Instagram and I saw a post by one Dwayne Aristode on Instagram today, Damon, and just get a look at this. I mean, wow. I mean, we're talking, that's a freshman, Damon. That is a incoming freshman for the University of Arizona. We're talking, and this is what I'm getting at with my point. How physical is this year's team going to really be? Like, if this is one of the freshmen that Arizona has coming, potentially off the bench this year, potentially in the starting lineup, whatever Tommy Lloyd decides to do with a guy like Dwayne Aristode, he's already joining a guy like Koa Pete, who is a massive hulking human. And then you have Braden Burries, who is pretty stocky for his position and his size. And then you got Dwayne Aristode looking like he's absolutely cut out of marble in this little screenshot that we have of the dunk that he posted to his Instagram. I mostly bring this up to say that I'm doubling down. I think Arizona basketball is going to be maybe a top 2, maybe not 2 most physical team in the Big 12 this upcoming year. I just really feel like, I'm talking about most physical. I'm not talking about most effective.
We're going to snatch your chain, Kelvin Sampson.
But that's what I'm saying. When I say top 2, maybe not 2, we're competing with Houston in that way.
For sure.
Right? So it's whether or not Chris Sinak Jr. is everything that he's been advertised, whether or not Kelvin Sampson can continue this with some of the roster change from last year to this year. I don't have any doubt that he'll be able to do that. But I'm way more locked in on Arizona camp stuff than I am on Houston camp stuff. So I just feel like Arizona, based on what I've seen so far, should have no problem being one of the most physical teams in the country next year, and also having the skill set to back it up. So that was my news and notes for today. Dwayne Aristode looking absolutely jacked this Friday.
Yeah, he does. He looks game ready, and it looks like the year that he sat out, at least, maybe it was a benefit to him in the sorts of, like, he got to get his body right and really focus on getting ready for this year, and also from an Arizona perspective, benefited us in terms of, didn't have to really fight for his services as much because he went so under the radar. But I think Dwayne Aristode is going to start. I think we're very much, moving in that direction as per our discussion we've been having for months now, Kevin, and I expect that to be the case for sure. But that's going to do it for us today on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Sam, he better stay for at least 2 years. I don't know. We'll find out. It could be a Carter Bryant situation where the tools are just too much for NBA teams to pass up on, and they let him know, like, hey man, you join this draft where, we're going to take you in the first round, and that's tough to pass up on. There's a world where Dwayne Aristode is maybe a more coveted by NBA teams than Braden Burries. I think that is
that's
there's
fair.
Depending on how he looks next season, I think just that physical profile is enough where you definitely could see that world happening. But
the frame, the athleticism,
absolutely,
all of it. Yeah,
absolutely. That's going to do it for us today, Kevin. We will be back tomorrow for our pregame show. Please, everyone that is still here that hasn't left the show yet, please be here for that one. Guys, 30 minutes prior to opening kickoff, we'll be going live previewing the Weber State matchup, giving some last-minute predictions, our best bets for the game, and so much more. So please be here for that. 30 minutes prior to kickoff at 6:30, we will be live for our pregame show. We'll be doing postgame 10 to 15 minutes after the clock hits 0 in the game. So please be here for that as well. You can follow me at Damon Dog, that's DAWG. You can follow him at Kevo Post, that's KEVO POSTS. And you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on Twitter, on Instagram at AZWildcatsPod, on TikTok as well. We're really getting that guy going. If you are a TikTok user, please follow us on TikTok and support our work over there. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and rate and review on your audio podcast of preference. That's going to do it for us today. I'm Damon. That's Kevin. We're the AZ Wildcats podcast. And until tomorrow's pregame show, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats. Just handle business.
We all silly like the mayor.